Now, assume further hypothetically, sir, that the murderer while wearing the Rockingham glove, stabbed Ronald Goldman in a manner that brought his glove into contact with Ronald Goldman's shirt, say, stabbed him in the left abdomen, in the left side. Would those set of events be a reasonable explanation for your finding of fibers consistent with Ronald Goldman's shirt on the Rockingham glove?
Yeah, there are two events that are happening here. One, you have contact between the surface of the glove and the surface of the fabric. The second thing that's happening is that the fabric is being damaged, so that a number of loose fibers are now being released. The two events would, again, I would expect a transfer in this instance, especially on a damp, bloody glove.
And in that regard, sir, do you have any similar observations to those that you made concerning the adherence of the fibers consistent with Ron Goldman's shirt to the Bundy glove as you do with respect to the Rockingham glove?
Well, both gloves had bodily fluids on them. They were damp, possibly from blood. Both gloves would be likely candidates for fiber transfers, especially from the shirt, because of it being damaged.
Did you also, sir, examine Ronald Goldman's jeans?
I did, yes.
And did you examine hair and trace recovered from those jeans, sir?
I did.
Did you, in your examination of hair and fiber, find any fiber that was consistent with the fibers of Ron Goldman's jeans?
I did.
And what method did you use to examine and compare those fibers that you found to be consistent with the jeans of Ronald Goldman?
Well, that would again have been a microscopic comparison.
Can you tell us, sir, from which items of evidence the fibers consistent with Ronald Goldman's jeans were collected?
Well, these fibers were found on both gloves, the Rockingham glove, the Bundy glove, and also on items of clothing submitted from Ronald Goldman.
And when you say items submitted from Ronald Goldman, what about his shirt? Did you find any fibers consistent with his jeans on his shirt?
Yes, I did.
Now, is that, in your experience, sir, common to find transfer of fibers from one item of clothing onto another item of clothing that someone has worn?
That's not very surprising. I would expect that, yes.
So, for example, if you're wearing two or more items of clothing, say a shirt and pants, or pants and socks, is it common in your experience to find fibers from your shirt on your pants?
Yes, it is.
Or from your pants on your socks?
It wouldn't surprise me. I would expect that.
Come back to that a little bit later. All right, sir, did you, in your examination of fibers collected from the evidence in this case, find any that were consistent with the dress of Nicole Brown?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Again, what method of comparison do you use to arrive at that conclusion, sir?
That would have been...
We just did a poll. Do not worry about how many people voted in the poll. That doesn't matter. That's not a statistic. Don't you worry about that. We just did a poll from the OJ watchers, and if he did it or not, and 100% of the people who voted said yes. 100% of the people who voted said yes, he did it. Don't worry about how many people voted. That doesn't matter, guys. Just the facts.
Almost the entire battery of tests that we routinely conduct. Microscopic comparison, an instrumental comparison, a color comparison.
Which one of you
Polarized light
voted? I need to
comparison.
know. You don't have to tell
All of the normal
me.
tests that we run.
And when you say all of the normal tests that you run, earlier you indicated to us there were certain tests that could be performed on man-made fibers that you could not perform on the natural occurring fibers like cotton.
That's right.
Were all of those additional steps and tests used in the case of the dress Nicole Brown was found in?
Yes, because her dress was composed of synthetic or man-made fibers.
May I have a moment, John?
Bobby! Because of you, I can say that 100% of us thought he did it. Forever now.
I'd like to mark, I think it was next in order, photograph of dress, Peoples 484.
44.
No one's going to mention that website, Malta.
Did you examine that dress, the dress itself, sir, at some point?
I did, yes.
And we're showing you the picture that's now been marked as People's 484. Can you make it any lighter? We're going to try and lighten it up there on the screen. That's great.
I honestly didn't care either way. Just didn't care.
Thank you. Now, on what item of evidence were fibers consistent with the dress of Nicole Brown found, sir?
Well, they were found on Ron Goldman's shirt, and they were actual yarns.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when it appears to be a knitted fabric, and when knitted fabrics are damaged, they often will break, and depending on the fabric and depending on the fibers, they'll actually break off in yarns. And the dress is made, it's a very tight knit, and the yarns are very small.
Was there any damage that you observed on Nicole Brown's dress that could account for the yarns you found on Ron Goldman's shirt?
Well, the only damage that I saw was in the zipper area on the back.
Is it possible for you to see that on your monitor?
Well, no, it would have to be enlarged quite a bit. It just is a small area near where the zipper is attached to the fabric. It appeared to be pulled apart in one location.
Can you see it there, sir? For the record, we have enlarged and zoomed into the zipper area described by the witness.
Well, it would have been at the base portion of the zipper, at the bottom portion where it, at its full open point.
At the
And
bottom? You mean where in a position where the zipper would have been open?
Well,
At the
no, the zipper may have, again, I have to think about this a little bit now. The zipper itself was right near, again, it was a low cut back. It would have been at the top, I'm sorry, right at the top portion of the zipper where it closed.
Oh, right at the top?
That's right.
And can we zoom in there? At the top. There we go. Okay. Can you see the damage you refer to in this photograph, sir?
Well, it's difficult to see. There wasn't a great deal of damage. Just at the point where the zipper made contact with the fabric, it was pulled apart. And again, not a great deal of damage.
All right, sir. Is there a logical explanation for how yarns from the dress of Nicole Brown came to be transferred to the shirt of Ronald Goldman?
Sustained.
Assume the following facts for hypothetical, sir. That the murderer attacked Nicole, grabbing her on the back of the dress, throwing her down, at which point the dress was ripped. Yarns from the dress came into his hand that he used to throw her down, then grab her dress with, and that he then went over to Ronald Goldman, using that same hand to touch Ronald Goldman on his shirt. Would those events be consistent with the finding of yarns from Nicole Brown's dress on the shirt of Ronald Goldman?
Objection being argumentative, respectfully.
You gonna add assume facts?
Actually, no, because this guy on the stand said that it was a good chance that the gloves were picking up the fibers because they were wet. They were leather gloves. Hi, Walter. So if he just grabbed her, threw her down, then went over and grabbed Ronald Goldman, I mean, maybe. But the gloves aren't wet yet. And they're leather. So, no, I think he would have had to stop her first. Which I thought that's what Marcia was putting in front of the jury, that he went to her house, he saw her, just her, they got into a fight, he stabbed her, and then Ron came on the scene, and OJ was like, oh, well, I gotta get rid of this guy, too.
Well, sir, in your experience, would it be reasonable to infer from the finding of the yarns on Ronald Goldman's dress that are consistent with Nicole Brown's dress? Did I just say dress twice? Thanks, Chris. In your experience, in your judgment, sir, would it be reasonable?
And about the son, no. So, here's the problem with people thinking that the son did it. There were shoe prints all over the place. that match OJ's shoes. I have 3 children, and there's no way we have the same shoes. There's no way my daughters would wear shoes I put on my feet. And there's no way I would wear shoes. I don't mean the same shoes as in the same shoes. I mean, we don't have the same style. And we just never will. We would not wear the same style shoe. My children wear different styles than I do. So I know we're girls. So that's a big difference. I still don't think OJ's son wore the same style shoe that he wore. So it could have been both of them. I don't know. I have no opinion on that at all. But I don't know. The evidence points to OJ Simpson.
And logical to infer that the damage to Nicole Brown's dress caused yarns to come off in the hand of the killer and get transferred to the shirt of Ronald Goldman.
Objection, all on the same ground.
Sustained. Let me see counsel for the sidebar without the court, please. Ms. Clark.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, you have described to us the damage you saw on Nicole Brown's dress, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And did you see any loose yarns in the area of damage you've just described?
Yes, there was damage. It's difficult to see, actually, a lot of damaged yarns because of the knitted fabric.
How many of those yarns that you say were consistent with her dress were found on Ronald Goldman's shirt?
There were 4.
Would a bloody glove be a good medium for the transfer of those fibers from her dress to Ronald Goldman's shirt?
Yes, it would.
All right, in your examination, sir, of the fibers collected from the evidence in this case, did you find any that could have come from the blue knit ski cap?
Yes, I did.
And is that on the board, John? Okay. So we're going to show you a photograph on the monitor that is already contained on the board marked as People's 483. And the photo, it has been? It's been individually marked as well as People's 441. All right, from what items of evidence were fibers consistent with those of the blue knit ski cap collected in this case?
They would have been collected from the from Ron Goldman's shirt.
And again, what was the methods of comparison used for this blue knit cap?
Well, it would have been all of the tests that we normally do with man-made fibers.
The blue knit ski cap, what were the, and the fibers that you found on Ronald Goldman's shirt consistent with those, what kind of fibers were they?
They were acrylic fibers.
So did you perform all the methods of comparison that you earlier described to us could be done on man-made fibers?
Yes, the first test would be a simple microscopic comparison, that is, taking a look at them visually to see if they look the same, and then if they do, the follow-up tests are performed to confirm that.
And did you prepare photographs of these fibers to show the jury?
I did, yes.
Did you mount all the photographs or all of the fibers that you saw in this case?
No,
In photographs?
I believe there were at least 1 or 2 fibers I didn't photograph.
And why is that?
I just took representative samples.
When you do a comparison, sir, do you compare photographs?
No, the examinations are done visually in a field of view of the microscope. Photographs are just aids to allow jurors to see what I was seeing.
And I'd ask that this board be marked People's 486 or 485?
45. Mrs. Robertson says 45.
45. How many fibers consistent with those of the blue knit cap were found on Ron Goldman's shirt?
There were 3 or 4.
If you wouldn't mind, sir, could you step down and explain to the jury what's shown on these photographs on the chart marked as People's 485?
All right, this particular chart has photographs of the known fabric from the from the knit hat that was submitted. It's marked here as K47. It's actually
Can we kudos him? Because no one's once had to tell him to keep his voice up when he goes to those, don't swear, those boards.
Q47 known sample. Okay, so it's actual fibers from the knit hat, and that would be the top two photographs on the upper left-hand side. The photographs at the bottom would be photographs of fibers recovered from Ron Goldman's shirt. In the known sample of fabric from the hat, there were larger diameter fibers as well as finer diameter fibers, and they were both present in the question and the known materials. The photograph on the far right, listed as K17, is just one of the black fibers that make up the dress of Nicole Brown. The fiber on the lower right is from it's one fiber taken from the yarn, one of the yarns from Q23, which would be Ron Goldman's shirt. And this does appear to have some blood on the surface of the fiber.
All right, then, is Q23 fiber that you found to be consistent with the fibers of Nicole's dress?
Right, I testified about this previously. This is just one of the fibers taken off Ron Goldman's shirt, and it exhibited the same characteristics as the dress fibers from Nicole Brown.
And then in the other four photographs, the upper two are the exemplars, the samples actually from the knit cap?
Right, those are fibers taken actually from a cutting from the knit hat. So those are fibers that make up the hat. The question fibers on the bottom would be just loose individual fibers that were recovered in the debris from the victim's clothes.
Thank you, sir. And if I may pull up the result on the result. Now, your finding of fibers consistent with those of the knit hat on Ron Goldman's shirt, does that indicate to you, in your experience and judgment, that there was contact between the wearer of that hat and Ronald Goldman?
Sustained. Phrase question.
How could that, in your experience and judgment, sir, the finding of fibers consistent with those from the knit cap on Ronald Goldman's shirt, what kind of transfer mechanism, or what kind of transfer would that be, would have caused that finding?
Hold.
Okay, fibers, and I've said this a number of times already, that I find on an item of clothing are the result of either a direct physical contact with the fabric or indirect. There could be events that are taking place at some point in between that one might say could have happened. It's difficult to know. Either they got there directly from actual contact between the hat and the shirt, or they got there because something else came in between. Something maybe removed the hat. Maybe there was contact with the victim in the hat. Maybe there was contact with the assailant in the hat and then the victim. There could be a number of events that are taking place which could result in the presence of those fibers.
Hypothetically speaking, sir, would it be reasonable then, given your findings, are your findings consistent with Ronald Goldman having been attacked by the person wearing that cap? In the course of the struggle, Ronald Goldman reaches behind him to pull the cap off. Would that set of events be consistent with the finding of the knit cap fibers, which were consistent with those from the knit cap being found on Ronald Goldman's shirt?
Objection, speculation.
I think we're assuming facts that aren't in evidence for the purpose of that hypothetical.
All right, hypothetically speaking, sir, if Ronald Goldman were attacked by the wearer of the knit cap, and in the course of their struggle, the knit cap came off the murderer, would those events be consistent with your findings of the fibers
back.
consistent with those of the knit cap found on Ronald
Driving my
Goldman's shirt?
daughter. Behave.
Well, we know one thing, that the fibers on the shirt look like the fibers from the hat. It could have been a direct contact while the person was wearing the hat, or during the process of removing the hat could have resulted in the transfer. There's really no way to know that for sure. All I do know is that there were fibers on the shirt that look like the hat fibers.
Well, let me ask you this, sir. You told us, I believe, that you found fibers consistent with those of Ronald Goldman's shirt on the knit cap. Did you not?
That's right.
Would that finding also be consistent with the hypothetical I just gave you of Ronald Goldman being attacked by the wearer of the knit cap and the knit cap coming off in the struggle?
a two-way transfer it increases the likelihood that there was actual contact, directly or indirectly, but it shows a close relationship between those items and each other.
Now, you recall testifying concerning your findings of concerning the examination of hair and fiber taken from the dress and body of Nicole Brown, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And you indicate that you found, did you find any fibers consistent with those of the blue knit hat on Ms. Brown's clothing?
I did not.
And what, if anything, does that indicate to you with respect to the amount of contact she had with her attacker while he was wearing that knit hat?
Objections from the facts on the evidence.
Overruled.
Well, there may not have been any contact then between the individual wearing the hat or with the person that had fibers on their hands or arms when that contact took place. Sometimes you see fibers, sometimes you don't. And it's difficult to know exactly how they got there. One can assume certain things, but the fact is I did not find any fibers like the hat on Nicole Brown's dress.
Would that finding be consistent with the murderer having had limited physical contact with Nicole Brown and her being rapidly incapacitated, offering little resistance?
Sustained.
If the knit cap, hypothetically speaking, came off early in the struggle with Ronald Goldman and prior to the major wounds inflicted on Nicole Brown, would that be consistent with your failure to find any fibers consistent with the blue knit cap on the dress of Nicole Brown?
Objection, speculation, full record of
Overruled.
Yeah, there's persistence that's taking place. This persistence of fibers, how long the fibers are going to remain, is coming into play here, besides actual transfer. So that if an individual comes in contact initially with an item and fibers are transferred onto that person, in this particular case, if the hat is removed early on, but there was a transfer of fibers from the hat onto the assailant and then onto a victim, these fibers will dissipate in number. In fact, they won't persist on the subject or the assailant, so that if there is subsequent contact, it's reasonable to believe that less fibers, if any, might transfer onto the next person because of a loss of these fibers. You only transfer so many. You're not walking around with large fuzzballs all over you. You transfer a few things, and then you move on to the next item, and you may not even transfer to the second item. But sometimes persistence of fibers and the number of fibers that one finds may indicate order, that is, order to an event. And I've seen it before in casework, where you can determine possibly that one victim may have been killed first, and then a second victim, and then a third victim, and a fourth victim, and you can see that actually from the fibers that one finds, that the fiber numbers drop off. And the last victim may not have anything, whereas the first victim may have a lot of fiber evidence.
And what do you attribute the rapid loss of fiber, that dwindling amount of fibers that you find on the bodies of successive victims too?
Well, there's only a certain amount of material that is ready to go, ready to transfer, either on the surface of the fabric or from the actual fabric. And a lot of the fibers that are transferred are the loose fibers that are laying on the surface of the fabric. They're not really bound into the fabric unless there's some damage to it, and then the fibers will become free. But those loose fibers maybe a set number depending on the fabric. The transfer occurs, contact occurs, and then a transfer takes place. A certain number of fibers then will be removed from the surface of that fabric onto that victim. A second victim may come into play, and there may not be as many. The third victim, the fourth victim, you'll see an ever-decreasing number till you might not find anything.
And I think you indicated earlier as well, sir, that fibers are not as persistent in terms of whether they stay on an object as hairs are. Do you recall that?
Yeah, that's true. The fiber evidence is extremely useful in cases where you have dead bodies because they're not moving. And the fibers that one finds on these dead bodies often indicates last contact because that's the last bit of fiber transfers that are taking place. Whereas an assailant who leaves the scene, within hours, the fibers will be lost. And if you don't get the items from the assailant within short order, the evidence of a fiber transfer may not be seen because they're lost. Because we brush things off, we get off the ground, we brush ourselves, we wash our clothes, we do a number of things like we normally do. We sit in a car, we lose fibers on the seat. So many things happen that can cause the loss of fibers, but with dead bodies, they're not moving. And they're often a very good source of fibers of the last contact they may have had.
So the finding of fibers, does that assist you in determining whether there has been recent contact or the recent deposit of evidence?
It's possible to draw some conclusions from that. There are always going to be fibers that one cannot account for, but certain populations of fibers on certain items may take on increased significance, yes.
In your examination of fibers collected from the evidence in this case, sir, did you find any that could have originated from the lining of either the Bundy or the Rockingham gloves?
I did, yes.
And can you tell us what kind of fibers make up the lining of those gloves, sir?
Well, those are cashmere.
And on what items did you find those fibers?
One fiber was found on Ron Goldman's shirt. Another fiber was found on the knit hat left at Bundy.
And you made that finding based on what kind of comparison?
That would be a microscopic comparison. Those are hairs.
Those are hairs?
Those are untreated, undyed, natural hairs from a goat.
And what, after you made the comparison of the fibers from the knit hat and Ronald Goldman's shirt, when you compared those to the lining fibers of both gloves, Bundy and Rockingham, what conclusion did you reach?
Counsel, why don't you rephrase your question? You're referring to it as fiber.
Right, hairs. Thank you, Your Honor. When you compared those hairs from Ronald Goldman's shirt and the knit cap, the blue knit cap, to the hairs recovered from the interior of the lining of the gloves at Bundy and Rockingham, what conclusion did you reach?
We may be a little confused here, talking about hairs and fibers. We're mixing the two. Hairs become fibers when they end up on fabric. So essentially they're animal fibers. And when I compared those fibers found on Ron Goldman's shirt and on the knit hat, they could have come from either glove because both gloves had the same types of fibers or hairs.
Now, can you tell us, sir, today that those fibers could have only come from the Bundy and Rockingham gloves?
No, I can't say that.
What can you say?
That they could have come from those gloves or another glove or another fabric that had exactly the same animal hairs or animal fibers present.
And may I remove the... All right, now if the attacker wore these gloves during the murders and during the struggle with Ronald Goldman, one of those gloves was pulled off, would there be fibers from the lining of that left glove on his bare hand?
Yes,
Overall.
there would be probably a number of fibers from the inside of that glove on the hands of the individual.
Okay. And if the murderer continued to pursue the attack on Ronald Goldman after that glove came off his left hand, would those fibers on his hand be transferred to the body of Ronald Goldman if there was contact?
It could have, but again, just this transfer that's taking place here, and it would have been a secondary transfer in this instance because the primary transfer takes place between the glove and the hand. Secondary transfer then from the hand to the victim. Yes.
Well, then, can you, sir, tell us if that's the case? I think you indicated to us that numerous fibers from the lining of that glove would have been on the bare hand of the attacker when the glove came off.
It could have been any number. I don't really know for certain. Likely more than one.
And you indicated how many of the fibers on Ronald Goldman's shirt did you find that were consistent with the lining of the gloves?
There was one, just one.
Well, why only one?
That's all that I found.
Okay, is there any explanation based on your experience and judgment that could account for the fact that only one such fiber was found on the shirt of Ronald Goldman?
Objection, speculation.
Overall.
Well, the action of the contact here may have resulted in the loss of fibers. Again, that there may have been a larger population initially deposited. The contact caused a loss of the fibers, and they could be on the ground. I mean, there's no way to know where they were, or if more fibers were even transferred. Maybe only one fiber was transferred. Maybe the processing technique, we just didn't find it. Maybe they're still there. I mean, I only looked at what was recovered and submitted to me, and in that debris there was only one fiber.
Now, did you receive a fiber mounted on a slide that had been found in the coroner's jar containing the neck tissue of Nicole Brown?
I did, yes.
And were you able to associate that fiber with any of the known clothing standards submitted to you in this case?
I could not.
Can you describe for us the appearance of that hair that was submitted to you mounted on a slide?
was a blue cotton fiber.
I think you earlier indicated to us, sir, that the off-white cotton fiber of Ronald Goldman's shirt was a very common one. What, if any, observation would you make in that regard with respect to the blue cotton fiber that was on the slide that you saw?
I wouldn't say necessarily it was common. Cotton fibers are relatively common. The color blue is a common color, but there are many, many shades of blue. Blue jean fibers, that's too common. We don't even consider blue jean cotton. This didn't appear to be a blue jean type fiber. This appeared to have come from some type of processed fabric with reasonable dye absorption, and the color was sort of a purplish blue almost. So it would have been significant to compare if I had a fabric that looked like it.
Now, with respect to this fiber that was found in the neck tissue, excised from Nicole Brown's body, can you tell us, sir, whether you know what the coroner's employee who put that tissue into the jar was wearing at the time that they put the tissue into the jar?
No, I don't.
Do you know what the coroner who actually excised that neck tissue was wearing at the time that he did so?
I do not.
Do you know whether that fiber may have already been in the jar her neck tissue was placed into
No.
at the time it was placed into it?
Right, I wouldn't know.
Do you know what the coroner investigators who first handled her body at the scene were wearing?
No.
And if Nicole's body had been covered with a blanket which contained blue cotton fiber like that you saw on the slide that was prepared from her neck tissue, could that fiber have been transferred by the placement of the blanket on her body to the neck wound?
And it's possible, yes.
Many things are possible.
Well, you have to look at what you have, and sometimes you can speculate, but you have to basically fall back on what you have.
All right, so did you examine fibers collected from the evidence in this case that consisted of carpet samples from the Bronco owned by the defendant?
I did, yes.
And were the known carpet samples collected from the Bronco and submitted to you at your request, sir?
They were, yes.
And why did you make the request for carpet samples from the Bronco to be sent to you?
Well, found on the Rockingham glove as well as on the knit hat were two rose beige carpet fibers. Fibers like these were also found on the towel, the shovel, and the plastic that were recovered from the Bronco. I saw no differences between them. For this reason, I requested samples from the Bronco to see if they may have originated from that source.
So before you requested the carpet sample from the defendant's Bronco, you saw fibers recovered from the towel, plastic, and shovel, which you knew to have been found in that Bronco.
Right, there was one fiber on each of these items that exhibited the same characteristics as the single fiber found on the Rockingham glove, as well as a single fiber recovered from the knit hat at Bundy.
So the items that you knew to come from the Bronco, those fibers exhibited the same microscopic characteristics as the fibers that were found on the knit cap and the glove.
They look the same to me. They had an unusual cross-section. I had not seen it before, so I wanted to get a sample from the Bronco to see if it could have come from that source.
And what is it that you found to be unusual about those carpet fibers in your experience, sir?
Well, I had not seen this particular cross-section before. I called it earlier the jack cross-section with the knobs on the end.
All right, with floor reporter, please. right, thank you, counsel. Proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. All right, so you were indicating that based on your prior experience and previous casework, that you saw something unusual in the carpet fibers that were recovered from the knit cap and from the glove and from the items that were taken out of the Bronco, the towel, the shovel, and the plastic. And what was that?
Well, it was the cross-section of the fiber. Right. I worked for many years with carpet fibers, and I had not seen this particular cross-section before.
And that was, I think you described it to us earlier, was that the trilobal aspect you described?
Right. It was a three-lobed nylon fiber that had little knobs on the knob on the end of each lobe. I called it the jack cross-section.
May I one moment? Examine a piece of carpet taken from the defendant's Bronco known as item number 33, LAPD identification number.
I did, yes.
I have a photograph that was previously marked as People's 440 that I'd like to show to you, as well as People's 439. And ask you if the carpeting depicted in People's 440 and 439 appears to be the same as the carpet piece that was sent to you at your request.
Well, the piece that I got was not this particular piece. I did get vacuum sweepings from this particular item. The actual samples came from different areas within the vehicle. Right.
So can you tell us, sir, what exactly you requested with respect to exemplars, with respect to carpet samples taken from the defendant's Bronco?
Well, I requested samples from all the fabric surfaces that were present within the vehicle. An interior of a vehicle is often comprised of a lot of different fabrics. It's a little world in itself. There's carpeting, there are floor mats, there's door panel fibers, there's seat cover fibers. In this particular case, I believe they were leather. There's also seat back fibers. There was a back portion of the vehicle, cargo area that had fabric. So an interior of a vehicle is a source of many different types of fibers, and I asked for all fabric surfaces, and I received samples from several areas.
All right, sir. When you received those samples, sir, can you tell us whether you conducted some form of comparison with respect to the fibers collected from the towel, the shovel, the plastic, the knit cap, the blue knit ski cap, and the glove found at Rockingham?
Yes, the initial tests that were conducted before I got the known material were done on just the material taken from the inside of the Bronco, as well as from the knit hat and from the Rockingham glove. A number of tests were conducted there. Ultimately, I wanted to get samples from the vehicle. Those were submitted in about a week later or so, and I did the entire battery of tests again on all of those of the known standards. And the carpeting, the main body of the carpeting of that vehicle was the nylon trilobal rose beige jack cross-section fiber.
Of all of them?
Of all of the carpeted surfaces, right. The door panels were different, seat backs were different. One was polyester, one was an olefin fiber. But all of the actual carpeting was the same type.
And when you say you used all the usual methods, these were man-made fibers, sir?
Man-made fibers, first a visual comparison under the comparison microscope, polarizing microscope, fluorescent microscope, microspectrophotometry, FTIR, and SEM, which is scanning electron microscope.
And with the use of all of those methods, when you performed the comparison between the known carpet samples from the defendant's Bronco to the fibers you found on the knit cap and the Rockingham glove, as well as the towel, the shovel, and the plastic, what conclusion did you reach?
Well, all of those fibers, the question fibers from the towel, from the shovel, from the plastic, from the Rockingham glove, and also from the knit hat, could have originated from that Bronco.
And if I may, Your Honor. Sir, did you look at any tapings from the Bronco of A.C. Cowling?
I did, yes.
And what kind of carpet? Was that a Bronco as well, sir?
It was a Bronco.
Excuse me, Counsel. Tapings?
Yes. Can you tell us, please, what are tapings?
Well, tapings are used to collect trace materials, just like a vacuum sweeper might be used. A piece of sticky tape, when placed onto the surface of a fabric, will cause loose fibers and hairs to adhere. These tapings could be placed on a number of different surfaces. They could be placed on clear plastic sheets. In this particular case, they were placed on petri dishes, plastic petri dishes, and then covered over.
And is that sticky tape a common method of fiber collection?
It's one method, yes it is.
And is it commonly used for the collection of samples, for known samples to compare question items to?
It can be used for that purpose, right? When actual known samples are not collected, you will pick up actual fibers from that surface on the tape, as well as question material.
And after having examined the tapings, the known samples collected by the tapings from A.C. Cowling's Bronco, can you tell us, sir, whether or not the fibers that were found on the knit cap, the carpet fibers that were found on the knit cap and the Rockingham glove, could have come from A.C. Cowling's Bronco?
Could not have.
And why is that?
Well, his carpeting was blue. Same fiber cross-section, though.
Now, did you prepare a chart, sir, that shows the fiber associations that you've just told us about, the carpet fibers on those items we've listed?
I did, yes.
I have a chart, Your Honor, that has to be marked as People's 486.
Yes.
All right, if you wouldn't mind stepping down here, sir, take the pointer, and please explain to us what you're showing us on this chart.
All right, this chart, which is titled Known Carpet Fibers from O.J.'s Bronco, indicates the top 3 photographs being from actual fiber standards from the interior, from the carpeting. K14 is one source of fibers, and I don't recall specifically if it was from the rear floorboard or the front floorboard, but these are fibers from the floor carpeting. K9 in the center, that's a cross-section that was done using the scanning electron microscope of a carpet fiber from the interior of the defendant's Bronco. The photograph on the lower left, 3C, that's a fiber from the glove recovered at Rockingham. On the right-hand side is a picture of a fiber that was recovered from the knit cap that was found at the Bundy scene. The center picture is a section of that fiber on the left-hand side, and it's a photograph using a scanning electron microscope, just to show you what the cross-sections look like for both of them.
So the photographs shown in the center of this chart, the upper one labeled K9, first of all, is that from a known sample taken from the defendant's Bronco?
Yes, it is.
And that's the scanning electron microscope photograph?
That's right.
The one below it, which is labeled Q3C, fiber from the Rockingham glove, SEM, is that the photograph taken with the scanning electron microscope on the question fiber that was found on the Rockingham glove?
Right. It would have been this fiber here. There's only one fiber that's recovered from the glove, as well as one fiber from the knit cap.
And when the witness referred to this fiber here, Your Honor, he was referring to the photo to the far left on the bottom row as you face this chart.
Yes.
Now, I see some spots up here on the SEM picture of K9, the known sample of the defendant's Bronco carpet fiber, that I don't see down here. Can you explain what that is and why that didn't preclude you from saying that these fibers could have come from the defendant's Bronco?
Well, you don't see them here on the bottom picture of 3C from the Rockingham glove, simply because you see a couple, but not the same number that you see on the top picture from the carpeting. And it could have been just from the source. That area was dirtier. Trilobal fibers are used for that purpose. They tend to hide dirt very well. That's why you have them inside your house as well as in vehicles. So dirt often collects down in the lower portion of the lobes, and in a vehicle they often tend to get pretty dirty. So it just happened to be where that particular fiber came from.
All right, now, what significance, sir, does the finding of fibers consistent with those of the carpet in the defendant's Bronco on the Rockingham glove and the blue knit cap have?
Well, it's significant from the standpoint of transfer. That is, if you're trying to find a relationship between items recovered from a crime scene or from an area from the defendant with a particular item that may be associated with the defendant, it becomes significant in that regard. Because it's possible then to possibly link all of these items together.
And given what you told us earlier, sir, about how easily fibers are moved around, does that play any part in the significance of your finding of those carpet fibers on the blue knit cap and the Rockingham glove?
Overruled.
Well, there's going to always be loose fibers that are present on the seats, on consoles, in different areas of a vehicle. Just because they shed, they get loose and they're moved around. Finding them on the seat of a vehicle that look just like the carpeting is not significant. But it becomes significant when an individual may have contact with the surface of that interior of the vehicle, like a seat, and then through secondary transfer then actually picks up the fibers on the clothing and then may deposit them on other items. So the fibers tend to move a little bit. And again, they only move so far because of persistence.
Because they do fall off more easily.
Oh, carpet fibers are big. They're actually pretty big fibers. One would not expect to find an awful lot of carpet fibers transferred between items. Unless you have a dead body laying in a car and then dumped out of the car, you might find a few more.
I'm sorry, sir. How does the largeness of the fiber impact on its mobility? How easily it'll be transferred or fall off an item?
Well, the bigger the fiber, the more likely you're going to brush it off. It's not going to become lost in all of the other hundreds of fibers that may be found and become actually part of the fabric. It will tend to lay more on the surface of the fabric as opposed to becoming part of it.
Which you would expect in a smaller fiber.
Well, smaller fibers will tend to make their way into the fabric because of the contact and the force that may be applied between two fabrics. It tends to go within it more. Whereas a carpet fiber is big. It's actually pretty big. You can see it with the naked eye pretty easily. It'll lay right on the surface. And depending on the nature of the fiber, it may be brushed off more easily.
Sir, how many... Want me to break here? Want me to keep
Good
going?
place.
Pardon?
Good place to
That's
break?
fine.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the noon hour. Please remember all of my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations until the matter has been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the case. We'll stand in recess until 1 p.m. Parties are again present. And counsel, over the noon hour, did everybody have the opportunity to see the exhibits, color exhibits?
We have a copy of the order. We don't have a color copier, so we're going to have to try and transcribe them onto black and white, and then perhaps over the evening break, if we're still going, we can take them and have color copies made. That's okay.
All right, but you had the opportunity to examine them and...
Just briefly.
All right. And Mr. Darden, you had a question earlier about a witness list from the defense. Have you received a witness list?
Yes, Your Honor, I have. The defense handed us a witness list at noon today. It contains the names of apparent witnesses for whom we have no statements for and no discovery. There are others for whom we have discovery. However, it would appear that any testimony they might offer would be irrelevant to these proceedings. At any event, there will be 352 objections to just about everyone on the list, and we'll take that up at a later time.
All right. Just wanted to make sure the list at least had been exchanged. All right, Deputy McNair, let's have the jurors, please. All right, let the record reflect we've been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And Mr. Diedrich, would you resume the witness stand, please? All right, good afternoon again, Mr. Diedrich. Ms. Clark, you may continue with your direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. All right, Mr. Diedrich, when we left off, we were talking about the carpet fibers that you found on the knit cap and the Rockingham glove that were exhibited the same characteristics as the fibers in the sample taken from the carpet of the defendant's Bronco. Now, can you tell us, sir, in what manner carpet fibers from the defendant's Bronco could have been transferred to the knit hat found at the crime scene at Bundy and the Rockingham glove?
Well, if the fibers originated from the Bronco, they could have gotten on these items either through direct physical contact with the carpet or indirect or secondary transfer from an occupant or from laying on a surface of such as a seat that may not have carpeting.
By indirect or secondary transfer, would an example of that be, for example, if the defendant touched the carpet and then touched the cat, the blue knit cat?
Sure.
Would a primary transfer example be that the knit cap was laying on the carpeted floor of the defendant's Bronco?
Yes.
Or that the Rockingham glove at some point was in contact with the carpet in the defendant's Bronco?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, how many carpet fibers that exhibited the same characteristics as those of the defendant's Bronco, how many of those did you find on the knit cap?
Just one.
And how many carpet fibers that exhibited the same microscopic characteristics as those of the defendant's Bronco did you find on the towel, the plastic, and the shovel that were actually recovered from the defendant's Bronco?
There was just just one fiber per item.
Only one per item from items that we know were found in his Bronco?
Just one.
Why would there be so few carpet fibers on items that were kept in the car?
Sustain. It's compound as well.
Why would there be so few carpet fibers found on those particular items, the towel, the shovel, and the plastic?
Sustain. It's compound, yes.
Why would, you said there was only one fiber found on the towel that was recovered from the defendant's Bronco?
That's right.
In your experience and judgment, sir, can you explain to us, as an expert, based on your expertise, how you can account for only one fiber being on that towel?
Well, one fiber could be there because that's all that was left on the surface of the fabric of the carpet when the towel made contact with it. When the towel was collected, if there were more present, maybe a couple fell off. Maybe there were more to begin with, but all I ended up with was just one. I don't even know when it got there.
Is there anything unusual about that, sir, about having found only one carpet fiber on the towel, given the fact that the towel was found in the defendant's Bronco?
Well, it's just the fact that fibers can be transferred either directly through a primary contact or secondarily from indirect contact. If the towel were laying on the surface of the carpet, one might expect that a fiber or two may have transferred. They may not have also. It's possible to collect an item from a carpet surface and not actually find a fiber on it. It just depends on what you find, what transfers.
And again, the plastic that was also recovered from the defendant's Bronco, you only found one carpet fiber that exhibited the same microscopic characteristics as those of the defendant's Bronco carpet fiber on that item as well.
That's right.
And that was an item found inside that defendant's Bronco, correct?
I believe it was, yes.
Can you explain, or do you have any different explanation for why there's only one fiber on that particular item, given your experience?
Well, this is not a big deal. I mean, as far as numbers and fibers, items that are taken out of the inside of the Bronco, if you find carpet fibers like the Bronco, it doesn't really matter that much to people, I wouldn't think. One fiber, more fibers may be transferred. You just get what you get.
So is there anything unusual in the fact that you found only one such fiber on the towel, one on the plastic, one on the shovel?
No?
Even in light of the fact that they were items actually found in the defendant's Bronco?
Sustain. Thank you. I think we've covered it there.
Sir, there was some testimony earlier concerning the there's a plaid cap found inside the defendant's Bronco. You recall testifying to the examination of hair and fiber collected from that item?
Yes, I do.
Did you find on that plaid cap that was found in the defendant's Bronco, did you find in the analysis of hair and fiber evidence recovered from that cap any carpet fibers like those from the defendant's Bronco?
I did not.
Well, how can you explain that?
Well, it's a fabric item. The item was from the flooring, actually laying on the carpet. It was collected and processed by the crime lab in Los Angeles, and no fibers like the carpet were found.
All right, I'm showing you the photograph that's been previously marked as People's 439. If the cap was found in that position in the defendant's Bronco as shown in this photograph, is there anything unusual in the fact that no fibers collected from that cap proved to be carpet fiber of the type that could have come from the defendant's Bronco?
Yeah, it's not a significant thing to me. The fact is, there were none found. I mean, you have a picture of it, shows it laying in there. The purpose of my work is an attempt to link objects into physical contact. If you have an actual photograph of something laying on an item, well, you don't need me, all right? But if there's a question about where that item was, and there might be a fiber on that item that links it to a source like a carpet, you might ask me to talk about that. But if there's a photograph of it laying on the carpet, it serves no purpose for me to be up here talking about it.
Okay. Did you answer, is there anything unusual in the failure to find Bronco carpet fibers consistent with those from the defendant's Bronco on that cap?
I think we've already asked that question.
Yeah.
Thank you, I wasn't sure. Okay. Now, given the fact that items may or may not pick up fibers as they travel through the world, in your experience, sir, has it ever happened that you have found fibers on pieces of evidence at a crime scene that you could not associate with any of the known clothing standards or cloth from other aspects of the case?
That would not be unusual. It's very common to find that.
And why is that?
I would be surprised not to find it, just to find only things that associate to items submitted. Because as we go through life, the clothing that we wear at any given time comes into contact with the people we meet, with the chairs we sit on, with the loose fibers that are in our environment. But most of the material would likely somehow associate us with where we live, our family, kind of vehicles we might drive. It's part of our identity. Each person has this little cluster of debris we walk around with every day. We drop a little bit off as we go, and we pick a little bit more up. And depending on where you stop that event, if a person dies, it stops. But if you can stop a person, a living person, at a given time, you can get some idea as to where they've been, or who they've been with, or what kind of vehicle they may drive, or what kind of sofa they have in their living room, because you tend to collect some of that material with you and carry it with you, but only for a short while, and then you start dropping it off, and you collect the new stuff. Kind of walking around little garbage collectors. We pick things up as we go, and we drop a little bit off, and that's where I come in. I look at the material that's submitted to me when that time period is stopped, whether it's a dead person or whether it's a suspect who's been arrested, and at that time I get the clothes, and I try to report on what I find at that particular time.
Then in your experience in the cases that you have seen, has there ever been a case where you did not have fibers that, let me see if I can frame that a positive. In all of the cases you've done, sir, has every case presented you with some fibers or some hairs that could not be associated with any of the known individuals or other items of evidence in the case?
Yeah, I would say every case where there's fabric involved, and most of them have fabric, there's going to be fibers that cannot be accounted for. Their relevance to a particular case may never be known, and you just use what you have, what's submitted, what you're asked to compare, and you try to derive conclusions from that to identify the source of every little fiber that is found on a fabric. It takes a little bit too much time, and you may not be able to do that because fabrics themselves don't last forever. We give them to the Salvation Army, or we donate them, or we destroy them. We get a rip in and we just throw them in the garbage. Fabrics themselves don't last a long time. They're transient. They stay for a while, and then we get rid of them.
So, and is this case any different in that respect? Were there fibers found on the various pieces of evidence submitted to you that could not be associated with any known standard?
There were some, yes.
Now, you indicated, I think, with respect to the blue knit cap, sir, there was a carpet fiber consistent with those of the defendant's Bronco on that item. And you indicated, I think, to us earlier that You picked off some items off that blue knit cap yourself.
I did, yes.
Was this carpet fiber that you picked off the hat one of those items that you picked off yourself?
Yes, it would have been from a scraping process.
Can you explain to the jury what you mean by the scraping process?
Well, the hat is taken into a room where there's some paper spread out on a table, and the item is just scraped. It's like a large cake decorator, a spatula. And scraping the item will remove any loosely adhering materials. This fiber you couldn't see. This particular piece of fiber was very small.
You were not able to see it?
Oh, you can't see most of the little fibers in a case. Some larger fibers you can, but if you just pick, you're not going to get very much.
Well, I thought you said earlier that the fibers from the exemplar from the defendant's Bronco were large, that all these carpet fibers, in fact, were large.
They are large in terms of their diameter. They're very fat fibers, but some of the lengths can be there can be very short lengths. It just depends on what you get. But carpet fibers are the easiest to see in terms of fiber evidence.
Was the fiber... You also indicated that you saw that there was fiber removed from the Rockingham glove that was consistent with the carpet fiber of the defendant's Bronco. You recall that?
I do.
Do you recall where on the glove or in the bag that fiber was found?
I believe that came from the bag that held that particular item.
Now, in your experience, sir, in all of the cases that you have had, has it ever occurred before that items of hair or fiber are found in a bag in which evidence is contained?
Yes.
How common or unusual is that?
It's not unusual. That's why we always examine the interior of the bag or the container that had an item, because just as hairs and fibers can cling to an item from contact, they also fall off. So they could easily, and they often do, fall off inside the container, inside the bag.
And is that a routine thing that is done, that at least at the FBI, to examine containers in which evidence is held for hair or trace that might have come off?
Yes, it is.
Now, are you aware, sir, that there was a piece of carpet marked as item number 33 that was wrapped up in paper and taped up and placed into a box which also contained bags containing the items of the blue knit cap and the Rockingham glove?
Is that a question?
Yes. Are you aware of those facts, sir?
I don't know if I know all of those facts, no, as to how they were originally contained.
All right, then let me pose a hypothetical to you. Assume the following facts: that a piece of carpeting marked as item number 33, removed from the defendant's Bronco, was folded inward with the fiber inward, that it was then wrapped up in paper and completely taped closed so that no carpet was showing. That item was placed in a box along with bags containing the following items of evidence. And each of these bags is sealed shut with tape, folded over and taped shut. The knit cap, that is the blue knit cap, the Rockingham glove, Bundy glove, and the plaid cap that was recovered from the defendant's Bronco, and the socks found in the defendant's bedroom. Each of those items separately packaged in their own paper bags and taped shut. They're all in the box along with the carpet from the defendant's Bronco that is itself wrapped in paper and completely taped shut. Assume those facts, sir. Did you find any Bronco carpet, any carpet fibers that exhibited the same microscopic characteristics as those from the defendant's Bronco on the defendant's socks
I did not.
or on the Bundy glove?
No.
And I believe you earlier indicated that you also did not find it on the plaid cap that was taken from his car.
That's right.
Now, what, if anything, does the failure to find any carpet fibers consistent with those from the defendant's Bronco on other items contained in that same box with the carpet sample as the items that you found to contain carpet fibers consistent with those of the defendant's Bronco?
It's a mouthful.
What does that mean to you in terms of whether or not the carpet fibers found on the Rockingham glove and the knit cap were found as the result of cross-transfer from being stored in the same box as the carpet sample item 33?
Check the form.
Well, we have fibers on some items. We don't have fibers on other items. If care and attention were taken when the item, the carpeting was sealed, and there was an effort made not to allow loose fibers to be inside that box, I might not expect to see trace fibers on other items. If there were a lot of loose fibers because of sloppy handling, perhaps, then I might expect to see fibers on all of the items, simply because they were all in the same box. But again, you find what you find, and it's difficult to know precisely. I would say if they're all sealed and there's an effort made to seal the items carefully, then that would minimize the risk of contaminating evidence.
And the fact that no carpet fibers consistent with those of the defendant's Bronco were found on other items in the same box, does that contribute any to let me rephrase it. The fact that you did not find carpet fibers consistent with those of the defendant's Bronco on other items kept in the same box, does that support your conclusion that the carpet fibers found on the knit cap and Rockingham were not the result of transfer from being stored with the carpet sample item 33?
Yeah, that's answers. Assume fact on that.
Well, that would be consistent with that the fact is, if it appears that the carpeting was sealed up adequately, and if it weren't, I might expect to see the fibers on all the items. It just depends on how loose it is and how many loose fibers are floating around in there. It's a real hit or miss thing. But if you only find it on a couple items, you don't find it on others, one might be led to believe that the fiber was actually originally on that item and not a contaminant.
Now, what does the finding of the carpet fiber on the Rockingham glove, what does that indicate to you with respect to the manner in which it could have been that carpet fiber could have been transferred to the Rockingham glove from the defendant's Bronco?
Well, either, as I said before, either a direct or indirect contact could result in that fiber being present.
Would the defendant necessarily have had to be wearing the Rockingham glove at the time he was in the Bronco for it to pick up the carpet fibers?
No.
So if, for example, all he did was get into the car, the Bronco, carry and take off the Rockingham glove and throw it on the seat or on the console next to him, could the glove pick up carpet fibers just by that mere presence on the console inside the car?
It could be the source. Yes, that's possible.
All right, so testimony was presented in this case that as of 9:45 on the night of June the 12th, the defendant was wearing a dark blue or black cotton-type sweatsuit. Did you find any fibers like that in any of the fibers collected from the evidence that you examined in this case?
I did.
What's the objection? Oral.
Can you please tell us from which items you found such fibers?
Well, there were blue-black cotton fibers found on the Rockingham glove.
Does anybody remember where the knit hat was found? Was it found with the bodies, or was it found in OJ's car? Because if it was found in OJ's car, I don't care if it has his carpet fibers on it. Who cares? Who cares? If it was found at the scene, which I think it was, but I don't remember specifically. You want to know why I don't remember specifically? Because they don't talk about the freaking murder in the murder trial at all. Nope.
On Ron Goldman's shirt and on the socks from the defendant's bedroom.
Can I... Now, did you actually
Josh would
examine
know.
the Rockingham glove, the shirt of Ronald Goldman, and the defendant's socks?
With the court report, please.
So did you guys ever... I just rolled my eyes because they had a sidebar. Did you guys ever roll your eyes so hard that you like pulled something? I was at work, I think it was like 4 days ago. One of the other servers said something, and I rolled my eyes, and I felt it pull, pull a muscle. That's how hard she made me roll my eyes. Now, she couldn't see my facial expression or anything. She didn't know. I rolled my eyes at something she said, and I would never roll my eyes right in front of someone when they're talking. But have you ever rolled your eyes that hard you pull a muscle up in your head? Not that I have strong muscles in my head. I don't. They barely function.
All right, thank you, counsel.
I'll rephrase, Your Honor.
And thank you, Mr. Blazer, for finding that in your database. Rephrase the question, please.
Thank you. Sir, in this case, testimony was presented that as of 9:45 on the night of June the 12th, 1994, the defendant was wearing dark blue or black like cotton type sweatsuit. And then the question I posed to you earlier, you indicated that you did find fibers like that in some of the evidence that you collected in this case.
I did, yes.
And did you examine the actual items, the Rockingham glove, Ronald Goldman's shirt, and the defendant's socks?
I looked at debris that was removed from these items.
And did you also see the items themselves?
I did at some point, yes.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. Now, you have examined the crime scene photographs, some of them in this case, correct?
I have, yes.
Were you able to determine where on Mr. Goldman's shirt you found the blue-black cotton fiber?
No.
People's 167, Your Honor. The defendant's socks depicted in this photograph, sir, did you actually examine the items themselves?
I saw the socks at a later date, yes.
Were you able to determine where on the socks the blue-black cotton fiber was found?
No.
Can you tell us, sir, what conclusion you reached concerning the blue-black cotton fibers found on the Rockingham glove, Ron Goldman's shirt, and the socks found in the defendant's bedroom?
Well, they all could have originated from the same fabric.
What appearance would those fibers have in a piece of fabric in terms of color?
They would be black. It would look black.
May I pull off your zone?
All right, Ms. Clark, does that complete the items on that board?
I believe it does, Your Honor.
All right, then I'd ask you to bring it down to this end of the jury box because it's hard to see the detail.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Clark.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Mr. Diedrich, did you have a photo board prepared to demonstrate to the jury the blue-black cotton fibers that you were able to match, that you found on Ron Goldman's shirt, that you
Your
found to be
phrase, excuse me.
consistent on Ron
Right.
Goldman's shirt?
I object and ask for approach.
No. It's been rephrased. Proceed.
The blue-black cotton fibers that you found to be consistent with each other, exhibited the same microscopic characteristics that you found on Ron Goldman's shirt, on the defendant's socks, and on the Rockingham glove.
Yes, I did prepare a board.
Asked to mark this as People's
487.
487. Thank you.
Mr. Clark.
All right, so if you wouldn't mind stepping down with a pointer to explain to us what we see on this board.
Okay, the board consists of 8 photographs, the top 3 being from the Rockingham glove on the left, from Ron Goldman's shirt in the middle, and from the socks from the defendant's residence. The numbers we have are Q3B in the laboratory, which refers to Rockingham glove, Q23 from Ron Goldman's shirt, and Q27, which would have been our item number for the socks. The photographs that you see, these would be the cotton fibers, the dark ones with the blue accents or portions of the fiber that are blue. The brownish fibers in the background would be from cashmere. That's the lining fibers. Q23, that's a clump of fiber.
Guess what? A different courtroom in Georgia just went live. There's nobody in it yet. It's not. I might have gotten this courtroom maybe once before. couple years ago. But it looks like, I mean, it really does look like he's setting up to stream today's docket. Oh, my hopes were just dashed. It's still on. I bet you it's a big case. It's probably a frickin' trial. It was probably a boring insurance or medical or... Oh, I think my hopes were just dashed right on the rocks. Obviously I'm gonna get it to see what it is, but Jasper, Georgia.
We're here from Ron Goldman's shirt, and this is a fiber from the socks from the defendant. The next three photographs depict, again, another photograph from the Rockingham glove fiber, a fiber from Ron Goldman's shirt, and another fiber that was removed from the defendant's socks. The bottom two photographs, another fiber here which appears to
Speaking
have
of
blood on the
stupid
surface
questions from
of the
Marsha,
Rockingham glove.
I'm driving my daughter and listening, okay? She is in the middle of a freaking question. She starts asking a question of the witness. And did the defense team stop her and ask for a break? And the judge is like, okay, we're going to take our morning break now. She was in the middle of a question. It's not like when they got a break, it's like, is this a good time to take a break? I have this many more questions. Should we take a break now? It's just, if she has an exhibit up, all right, are you done with that? Take it down. Are you done with that? Take it down. Never do they say that to the defense team. Never have they stopped the defense team in the middle of a question for a break. Ever. Ooh, I was so mad. Ooh.
And another fiber located next to a hair. That hair was like the hairs of Nicole Brown. And that's one of the fibers that was lying next to it.
So Q23 at the bottom here of this chart actually shows a hair that you determined to be consistent with those of Nicole Brown associated with one of the blue-black cotton fibers that you determined to be consistent with those found on the defendant's socks and the Rockingham glove?
That's right. You're right. All from the same item. And there were, again, I said before, there were a number of hairs that were found on Ron Goldman's shirt.
But, on an objective move to strike, the statement all from the same item.
And this Q23 that was taken off that was found on Ron Goldman's shirt?
That's right. Yeah, all three center photographs were photographs of the fibers recovered from Ron Goldman's shirt.
Can you tell us, sir, what this blue-black cotton fiber, this would have been a natural fiber, correct?
Natural plant fiber.
And what method of comparison or examinations did you use with respect to those blue-black cotton fibers?
Well, the fibers are compared microscopically with a comparison microscope. They're also compared with fluorescence, microspectrophotometry by the color. So the color is compared as well instrumentally. That would be the methods that were employed.
Now, given what you said earlier about fibers and the fact that they come and go, what is significant to you about this blue-black cotton fiber that you found on the three different items of evidence in this case?
Objective form.
Okay, I stated previously that fibers don't persist a long time, and routinely the fibers that you find on an item often reflect the last contacts that may have occurred with that item. The blood associated, or what appears to be blood associated with the Rockingham glove fiber probably caused the fiber to adhere. So that appears to be a contiguous, or an event that's happening about the same time. Fiber coming in contact with the blood, it sticks to the glove, and that's how we end up finding it. The shirt fibers are the same thing. Any fibers that you find on an item of clothing, at least within a certain number of fibers that you find, again, may reflect recent contact. There's no absolutes here, but you do find that recent contacts often result in fibers that you find. The clump of fibers here associated with the cashmere-like fibers that you see in the upper left, again, it's a clump of fibers. It's a group of fibers that are found, as opposed to just a loose fragment.
A clump?
Well, it appears to be a clump. Excuse me. A clump. There's actually a group of fiber here, maybe two or possibly even three fibers in this particular region.
On the Rockingham glove?
The same with Ron Goldman's shirt here. It's
Okay,
another
can
clump,
you hear me?
which may have been just a loose clump of fibers that we often find on our clothes. Tufted fibers.
Now, you saw a lot of fibers in this case, correct?
A lot, yes.
Was there something
Hey,
unusual
Bob,
about these
test,
particular blue
test.
black cotton fibers that drew your attention, or made you pay particular attention to
Did
them?
that work, Bob?
Yes. Well, cotton fibers in themselves they're common. There's a lot of cotton fibers out there. What gives cotton fibers significance is that when you add color to them in a specific way, some you see more, maybe less likely than others. These are actually, it's a real dark blue. It looks black, but in some areas the dye was not absorbed the same. And this may be where the yarns are attached to the fabric. The same thing appeared also on the fibers that were recovered from Ron Goldman's shirt. The bluish area also present here that was recovered from the defendant's socks. The bluish area here is starting to show. Some of these areas
Bob, I'm using the
can better
microphone
be
now. Can you
shown
hear me on
using
it?
instrumental techniques with color, because the eyeball sees this as a shade of blue, this as a shade of blue, and so forth. The instrument, microspectrophotometer, can actually break down this color into its components, and you compare then the absorption spectra, which is an assistance to the eye comparison.
I think it was sometime last week that we marked some charts that had wave patterns showing the light absorption,
That's right.
and then you, I think, indicated that that was a method you could use to compare fibers to one another to see if they could have had a common source.
Right. It's a tool that's used to help the examiner make a decision on whether or not the fibers are alike or different.
And that was that method used with respect to the blue-black cotton fibers in this case?
It was, yes.
And a chart was generated?
I think there were several charts generated, yes.
And what did those charts indicate?
Well, it indicated to me that the absorption spectra were the same. That is, the dye components that are present that make up the color that we see.
I don't even know who this
are
judge
the
is.
same.
I don't even know what's going
Still
on.
doesn't say they all came from the same fabric. You have to understand that. All it says is that
There's nothing in the
various
newspaper.
similar properties, both instrumentally and visually.
Did you prepare another chart of photographs pertaining to this blue-black cotton fiber?
Yes, I did.
It has 3 photographs on it, and it shows the known cotton fiber from Goldman's jeans on the left-hand side as you face it, and 2 other photographs concerning the blue-black cotton fiber. It has to be marked People's
488.
488. And if I could ask Jonathan to hold it for the brief period of questioning for Mr. Diedrich.
All right, that's Mr. Fairwell.
Yeah, no, I meant for Mr. Diedrich. Thank you, Mr. Fairwell. Oh, I said John, thank you. Can you please describe to us what you have attempted to depict on this chart that's been marked as People's 488?
A couple things here. One, just to give you an idea what the blue jean cotton fibers look like. The blue jean cotton fibers, you see areas where the dye is absorbed some lighter than others, and the more fading that you get with blue jeans, that the color just leaches out. You also see some white. Even though they look blue, there's actually white fibers that are mixed in there with it. But the purpose of showing you this photograph was to show you the difference between this particular fiber and this particular fiber down here that are also cotton, but they're colored differently.
For the record, when he said this particular item and this particular item, he was referring to the photographs labeled as Q23.
Yes.
Now, both of the photographs you see on the right-hand side of the chart were fibers that were recovered from Ron Goldman's shirt. The one in particular at the top right, you can see how closely associated it is with a hair that exhibited the same characteristics as Nicole Brown. The fact that it somehow wrapped itself around the hair.
Mr. Diedrich, let me ask you a real quick question here. This item Q23 on this chart that was recovered from the shirt of Ronald Goldman shows the blue-black cotton fiber wrapped around the hair that you described as being consistent with those of Nicole Brown. How could it have become wrapped around in that manner?
Well, the hair has to actually roll. It has to roll across the fiber. Either that fiber is a loose fiber, and it happened just to land on it and rolled over it, or the hair rolled on fabric. If the hair rolls on a fabric surface that is comprised of these fibers, there's a good chance that hair, depending on what type of material is on the hair, may actually cause a roll effect where the fiber will roll right around the hair. And that's how it ended up in that state.
Do you have an opinion as to how it occurred in this particular case?
It's difficult to know exactly how that fiber got there. Perhaps, again, the 2 methods I mentioned, one being maybe a little more likely than the other. If it actually landed on the fiber and rolled, that would be less likely, in my opinion, than if it actually came in contact with the fabric. It would be a more likely event.
So, for example, if if the defendant wearing a dark cotton sweatsuit that had fibers like those you've described here in these charts, the blue-black cotton fibers, and he attacked Nicole Brown with his sleeve coming into contact with her hair, could that account for the manner in which you find the fabric wrapped around hair like those of Nicole Brown?
It's possible that could have happened that way. Sweatsuits tend to have, because of their plush nature, tend to have longer, looser fibers on the surface.
Now, the bottom photograph here, is that another area of the same hair and fiber depicted in the upper photograph?
I don't believe so, no. That's another fiber.
Another blue-black fiber on Ron Goldman's shirt?
Right. There were a number of fibers, I don't recall the exact number, that were found on Ron Goldman's shirt.
And just above it, is that a hair above it there?
Yes, and that, again, I had 35 hairs, remember, off of the that were like Nicole Brown's on Ron Goldman's shirt. And these are on those slides, same slides.
So is this hair depicted in the lower photograph next to the blue-black cotton fiber also consistent with the hairs of Nicole Brown?
I mean, I believe that hair is, again, I'm only going by a fuzzy photograph here, but a lot of the fibers and hairs were in close proximity. I'm not implying, and I don't want to imply in this instance here, that this fiber is like this fiber in the sense of how it's oriented. It just happens to be laying right next to the hair.
All right, chair number 7, can you see this exhibit?
Is it possible Chinny did it?
Thank you.
Possible.
Did we get this chart down to the end, Your Honor? Mr. Fairclough, thank you.
It looks like they pulled 4 chairs up in Jasper to the judge's bench. At least 3 chairs are up there now. I can't tell if that other thing is a chair or not.
All right, thank you.
Judges? 3 judges for a case?
Thank you, Your Honor.
The docket for Jasper, which is
That's the one assisting me.
Pickens, Georgia,
Thank you.
just says first appearances. This doesn't make sense.
you, sir.
I'm very excited,
Now,
guys.
sir, we spoke earlier about it being common to find fibers of one item of clothing on another item of clothing worn at the same time by the same person. You recall that?
I do.
And I think you discussed it in the context of having found fibers from Ron Goldman's shirt, or fibers consistent with Ron Goldman's shirt on his jeans.
Right.
Okay. The blue-black cotton fiber that you've just described as having been found on the defendant's socks, what reasonably, logically, can you infer
What if it's
about
Judge Reeves?
how that fiber came to be
that would be
transferred onto
so
the
good.
defendant's socks based on your expertise?
Objections, Mr.
Sustained.
All right, is the finding of the blue-black cotton fiber you found on the defendant's socks consistent with the defendant having worn an item of clothing made of such blue-black cotton fibers at the time he wore the socks?
Objections, speculation.
It's certainly not inconsistent with it, right? He could have come in contact with an outfit. That's how the fibers got there, or some other way.
And what other way would that be?
Walk down the fiber.
Objection on speculation.
Sustained.
Okay. You also found the blue-black cotton fibers on the Rockingham glove.
No, they are. So
Is
you
that
see
finding
the
consistent with
middle
the
one?
defendant having worn a dark blue to black
The
cotton
middle
sweatsuit
chair
at the time he
is the
wore that
normal
glove?
chair in this courtroom.
Sustained.
The bigger chair, if you're looking at the screen to the left, is one they just brought in.
How many fibers of the
Can't
blue-black
tell if
cotton
that's a chair
fibers did you find on the
in front of
Rockingham
it.
glove?
I don't recall. I believe there were several.
And if the defendant
So
were
I see
wearing
3 judges'
a
chairs
dark
right now.
blue,
I
black
see
cotton
3.
sweatsuit at the time he wore the Rockingham glove, would that account for the transfer of those fibers, the blue-black cotton fibers, onto that glove where you found them?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Also, I see him, he just pulled out a huge white binder. They don't normally have those for first appearances.
Is the finding of the blue-black cotton fibers on the Rockingham glove consistent with the same phenomenon you described?
But it's only
earlier
one
when
binder.
you found- when you
So
testified
it's
that you
not
found
like a huge case, but
fibers
something's
consistent with
going
Ron
on.
Goldman's shirt on the jeans.
Objection, speculation.
Yeah, I see that little one. I don't know what that is.
No, that would be the same if you're assuming that
Sorry,
the
Chinny, no.
the individual who wore the gloves also had the dark sweatsuit on at the same time. The same principles are taking place. That is, in the process of wearing an item of clothing, loose fibers are going to be present. Making contact with that item of clothing with the glove or whatever could result in a transfer, yes.
Hi,
All right, counsel, I
Kanisha.
think we've gone over the manner in which fibers and hairs are transferred now about 8 times.
Judge, you forgot a 0 on the end of that. 2 zeros. 4 zeros.
Okay, let me just ask you this then, sir. Given all that you've told us about fibers and the manner in which they're transferred and how easily they're moved and lost, what is the significance of your findings concerning the blue-black cotton fibers, which exhibit the same microscopic characteristics, on 3 different pieces of evidence? One at Rockingham, the Rockingham glove, defendant's socks, and Ron Goldman's shirt.
Objection, speculation, compound.
Sustained. He can form an opinion as to any possible relationship between the 3.
What, if any, opinion do you have concerning the significance of your finding the blue-black cotton fiber on the defendant's socks, on the Rockingham glove, and on Ron Goldman's shirt?
Objection.
Sustained. Rephrase the question. Is there a relationship between the 3?
I understand. What opinion, sir, do you
It's more
have
functional
as to the
anyway.
relationship of the 5 blue-black cotton fibers you found on the defendant's socks, the Rockingham glove, and Ron Goldman's shirt?
Objection.
Overruled.
I've previously stated that persistence is a phenomenon that's very important here, as well as how fibers can be transferred. The fibers that you find on a particular item of clothing often reflect last contacts. If all 3 items have fibers that are alike microscopically, that would suggest that all 3 items had last physical contact with an item of clothing that had exactly the same fibers in it. It could be one item. I'm not saying it is, but it could be one item of clothing.
And the blue-black, how many blue-black cotton fibers did you find on Ron Goldman's shirt?
There were more. There were a number of fibers. Again, I don't have an exact count on that. Population was greater.
Does the presence of that number of fibers found on Ron Goldman's shirt indicate to you, what does it indicate to you with respect to the manner in which it could have been transferred?
That's
that
where I
shirt?
go. For these courtrooms.
Does the number of those blue-black cotton fibers found on Ron Goldman's shirt indicate there was some contact between Ron Goldman's shirt and someone wearing a fabric comprised of that kind of fiber?
Leading counsel.
Same question.
We've established the transfer and all of that.
Does the number of fibers found on Ron Goldman's shirt of the blue-black cotton variety indicate anything of significance to you with respect to the nature of the contact that transferred them to his shirt?
Objection. Same question.
Overruled.
The more rigorous the contact, the longer the duration, the more forceful contact often results in greater fiber exchanges up to a certain point. Again, it depends on the nature of the fibers, it depends on the nature of the contact, but the greater force, the more surface area coming into actual physical contact, and this is common sense kind of, but they show this through studies, that you'll transfer more fibers that way. Just like if you walk through the mud, the more you walk through the mud, you get more mud on you. It's kind of all the same principle.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Mr. Bailey.
Good afternoon, Mr. Diedrich, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Diedrich, do you prefer to be called Agent Diedrich or Mr. Diedrich?
Oh, Mr. Diedrich's fine.
Okay, that's what we'll use. You have testified, I believe, that you have handled about 4,000 cases as you sit here since becoming a hair and fiber examiner at the FBI laboratory.
That's right.
Can you tell me when it was that you first went over the 1,000 mark? At what point in your career?
I don't even recall.
Relevance.
It was some time ago.
Well, do you do any kind of annual reports that indicate what your activity has been during a calendar year?
I believe those records are kept, yes.
Well, can you tell me approximately how many cases you have done per year since you became an examiner?
Well, probably the average was around 30 cases plus probably per month. So over 300 cases per year, probably on a average.
Okay. Is that pretty consistent from year to year, or does it vary greatly?
Oh, it was pretty consistent there for a long time.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, your duties have changed twice, I believe, since you became an examiner. First, you became in charge of training sometime in the 80s.
Well, I had that actually was just an added duty. It didn't detract from my caseload. I still got plenty of cases to work.
All right. So
And
your
I-
handling of cases remained consistent
Remain,
despite that additional
right,
chore.
it remained pretty consistent.
Excuse me, gentlemen, you're both going to have to allow the other to finish speaking.
No, sorry.
How about when you became section chief? Did that alter your work routine at all?
After I was officially assigned as unit chief in Hairs and Fibers, yes, my caseload dropped. So I don't handle many cases anymore.
How are cases distributed among the examiners who work in your section?
Well, they're distributed on the basis of expertise, length of service, how quickly they can turn a case around, type of examiner they are. It depends upon the individual. Cases are assigned based on those reasons.
And who do they come to initially within the section?
Well, they come into the unit chief or acting unit chief, and that person then will assign the cases to a specific examiner to look at.
Does that mean if you are present, you'll do the assignments, and if you are not, you have a deputy who carries out that function?
That's right.
Who would that be?
Well, Robert Fram is the next one in line as far as time in the unit. He's got about 6 or 7 years, and I normally have him do it, but it could be any other individual in the unit who's an examiner, qualified examiner.
Is this a case that you assigned to yourself when it arrived in Washington?
No, I did not.
How did that happen?
Well, the section chief, James Kearney, asked me to work it when it came into the laboratory.
And is he, for all intents and purposes, your boss,
Right, he's my immediate supervisor.
the person to whom you report?
That's right.
Okay. Let me ask you a few questions about your background, Mr. Diedrich. Have you written any papers for journals connected to the profession of forensic science?
I've written a couple articles regarding feather identification, but nothing regarding hair and fiber.
You were trained in feathers by a lady from North Carolina who specializes in that?
And that's right.
And that's the comparison of feathers, knowns and unknowns, as you have described it here, relating to hairs.
Right, as well as identifications.
Is that part of the FBI Academy's training program now?
Well, I like to teach all the new people a little bit about it, just so they expose them to it as a potential type of evidence they may encounter.
Have you written a paper in an FBI publication having to do with determining sex from the examination of fibers?
I have. I guess I was a co-author on that regarding sex determination of forcibly removed human hairs, yes.
Any other publications that you have authored?
I don't believe so.
How about any books? Have you written any books on this subject?
No.
Are there any associations or professional societies devoted strictly to hair and fiber experts?
Well, there are a couple organizations that have been established over the past few years that deal specifically with fiber identifications and fiber examinations. There's a European Fibers Group, and there's also the Technical Working Group for Fiber Examiners in the United States. But for the most part, most scientific associations deal with all the various phases of forensics, none specifically dedicated to hair and fiber that I know of.
What would you say is the leading association of forensic scientists in this country?
Oh, probably the American Academy of Forensic Science.
Are you a member of that?
I am not.
Have you ever held an office in it?
Well, not in a scientific organization, no.
Do you belong to any organization?
I do not.
Have you ever written any publications for the Journal of the Academy of Forensic Science, known as the Journal of Forensic Science?
I don't believe I have, no.
What publications do you regularly read that track the developments in this area of the profession?
Well, we have a Forensic Science Information Resource Center in the laboratory that sort of tracks all the different documents and articles and journals that are published on a monthly basis, either in the American Academy of Forensic Science, which is the Journal of Forensic Science. It used to be the Journal of Forensic Science Society, and there are a number of other forensic journals that come through. The Microscope by the McCrone Institute, and there are also other forensic publications, books that come out, Forensic Science Handbook, and others that we refer to periodically.
Which of these, if any, do you review on a regular basis when the articles pertain to your specialty?
Well, all of the Journal of Forensic Science articles that come out are circulated, as well as, again, I don't recall what the new name for the Forensic Science Society is in England, but all of those come through on a routine basis.
Are these things that you read when they appear to pertain to hairs and fibers?
Yes.
Okay. Is this a matter of routine when these articles come out and they arrive at the laboratory, you'll review them?
I try to keep up with them, yes, sir.
And have you reviewed any number of studies that have been published, for instance, in the Journal of Forensic Science?
I've read quite a few, yes.
Okay. Can you tell me what would be the average number of pieces of materials that would be involved in a case as such? This being a case.
Right. Oh, an average case may be 10 to 20 items, perhaps, an average.
Do you recall testifying earlier that maybe 100 or more pieces in a case?
Right, good. I mean, I've had cases with thousands of items, but if you took all of the cases across the board and did an average on on all of the cases. We get a lot of cases that are pretty small, so it's probably 10 to 20.
Okay.
20 might sound probably correct.
And what is the work routine in your laboratory? How many days a week are you there when you're not traveling?
Yeah, the normal workday is it's 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and it's a 10-hour day for all the examiners. So it's supposed to be 9 to 5:30. We get in about 6:40 in the morning and close up shop around 5:30.
What percentage of a 10-hour day would you say you spend at the comparison microscope on an average day?
Well, each examiner has a little different method depending on how they work. Some people are morning people and some people are afternoon people. I've always been a morning person in terms of looking through the microscope. So I'll spend perhaps from 7 o'clock to noon steady doing microscope work. And after that point, I find that my eyes get tired because it's a strain. And I do mostly administrative work, reading, and try to do some miscellaneous work. But the heavy scope work is morning.
So I guess what you're telling us is that when you are in the laboratory, you probably average 5 hours a day at the comparison microscope looking at various materials known and
Right.
unknown.
Probably steady, heavy comparison microscope work about 5 hours a day.
And how many weeks a year are you permitted on vacation?
Well, let's see, I accumulated up to the maximum. I probably get
Hold on.
26 days a year.
Wait,
Did you take?
Well, if
hold on. I wasn't paying attention completely because I have no idea what's happening in Jasper, and I was trying to search this guy to see if he's a judge. Blah, blah, blah. But I heard this guy say that he does 30 court cases a month. When you really only work 20 days out of the 30, because there's, I'm so distracted because there's weekends, holidays, blah blah blah. Okay, so he would have to do a couple a day, and if he's doing a couple court cases a day, how is he spending 5 hours out of his workday at a microscope? How is this guy doing it? Does he because I was about to say, does he do it at night? No, because he just said that he's a morning person for microscope work. So he does it in the morning. So this guy's a big fat liar, or he doesn't understand math, or he has no concept of time, or he is Doctor Who, which is the only thing that makes sense. He's the doctor. No, you tell me, Bill. You tell me how. It's not over yet, John. We still have 15 minutes. I just went on a rant.
If I can, yes. I may have to give some up this year.
Is it fair to say that you probably work, taking out weekends, holidays, and so forth, about 250 days a year?
Yeah, I've never really thought about that, but there are a number of days that we get off, yes, with holidays and weekends. So.
And vacation?
And if you can get a vacation in there, yes, that's right.
Oh, well, does that sound a reasonable number?
Sure, that sounds fine.
Okay. When you testify in a case, you necessarily spend some time in preparation with the lawyers and others who have called you and asked you to appear, correct?
Sometimes you do, and yes, it's a good idea, right, to spend some time.
Has anybody ever put you on the witness stand without talking to you about what you're going to say?
It's happened a lot, yes.
You just get called in the door, introduced to the lawyer, and pile on the stand? Is that it?
Right, it's a little uncomfortable.
That didn't happen in this case, though, did it?
No, I had a chance to discuss the case, yes.
You spent quite a bit of time in the preparation for your testimony in this case, have you not?
I came out a couple times, yes.
Okay. Would you give us, including travel time, an estimate of the number of hours that you have spent getting ready to testify here in this case?
Stay. Rephrase the question.
Okay. First, give me the number of hours that you've spent preparing. And if that includes some of the time you were on the airplane, please include that too, assuming that you are flying back and forth.
Yeah, flying, yes, sir.
Okay.
I probably spent a good 10 days, or maybe a little less than 10 days, in direct contact with the prosecutor, with the DA's office, in preparation for the case. As far as office time preparation, it took a while to prepare some photographs and also to have the charts made by the special projects section. It's difficult to say, but there's been quite a bit of time in preparation for this case.
Okay. And can you translate that into an approximate number of hours?
I don't believe I can.
Several hundred?
I really don't know. 100, couple hundred, maybe so.
You can forget about Jasper Court today, guys. They took it offline. They just killed the feed. Yo, that sucks. Yo, I was so excited. I have like 17 tabs open looking for this judge. And I know we know the lawyer. He's one of the big bushy white eyebrows. Nope, not for us, not today. Nope, they snatched it away from us.
Can you tell me the average length of time involved away from your facility when you testify in a case? And I mean just the average.
Yeah. Well, an average testimony, you'll probably go out the day before, testify, and I try to get back that same day of the testimony. So 1 day out, overnight. So 2 days.
All right. But if the case is some distance away, such as this coast or Alaska, it may be considerably longer than that.
Might be a week. Might be.
Would you say that the average that you spend when you have to testify in a case, including your preparation, your appearance in court, and whatever waiting around you have to do, for whatever reason, while the trial is in progress, would average 2 days, perhaps?
2 days is a good average, I think, for a testimony to travel and testify.
So, with the 400 cases in which you've testified prior to coming here, it would be 800 days that you were not present in the laboratory.
Oh, I don't know if that's the average or not, but I mean, when you consider a lot of testimonies are non-travel testimonies, a lot of them are in the District of Columbia, so let's just walk down the street and testify. Testified in Fairfax County a few times. I consider testimonies depositions. We get a lot of depositions.
I love your
People travel
optimism.
to Washington, take a deposition.
But-
So I included those, not just travel testimonies.
These were not trials, then, as you said before. Some were merely the giving of a deposition.
Some I would have included depositions,
Well-
right, regarding testimony.
Can you give us any help there as between the times you gave a deposition and the times you appeared before a judge in a courtroom, with or without a jury?
Probably 50 or so depositions, maybe, over the years.
That leaves 350 trials.
That's quite a few.
Now, a few moments ago, you thought it quite reasonable to estimate that the average testimony was a 2-day affair. Do you wish to change that?
No, that sounds fair.
Okay.
Couple
If that
days.
is so, 400 testimonies would be 800 days.
Well, that's correct.
Okay. And none of these generally take place on weekends or holidays, correct?
Well, I have, the testimonies, I have testified on Saturday. I have testified on holidays.
How many times?
Well,
Who were these
probably
judges?
10, probably 10 times or 15 times, but yeah, that's a rare event.
Okay. You alluded to the exhibits that were obviously prepared for the case of people against O.J. Simpson. Is it fair to say that this is a rather larger number of exhibits than you normally use in a criminal case?
Oh, yes, in a regular criminal case.
Is it fair to say that it is probably the largest
We've been on this
number
guy for
of exhibits that you have prepared
couple
for your
days now.
testimony in a criminal case?
He's different from
It
the
could be at
Australian
the
guy.
record level, yes.
Normally, you don't bring anything this elaborate to the courtroom with you, do you?
Well, that's not true. Normally, I don't think that's correct. On any time that I make a fiber association anymore, even hairs I'll be photographing. It's not something we used to do years ago, but I felt this to be quite beneficial as far as being able to show what I look at and what I associate. It's very common for me and for the unit to go out on a trial and take charts of any associations, but not often do we have this many associations.
Are those charts in other cases generally made up for that case, or are they generic and illustrative, such as you'd use for teaching?
No, well, both. Some make up charts for training purposes, education, and a lot of the others are prepared from fiber associations or hair associations.
In how many of your cases have you made up boards of random hairs, known hairs, etc., similar to those which you have used here?
Well, I've done this before in a couple of major homicide investigations in the state of Virginia. And in Alaska, I used boards in those 2 cases, and there may have been a couple others.
You're talking about the Hughes case in Virginia?
Right.
Caleb
Hughes, that's correct.
Is it a fair statement, based on your extensive experience within the FBI, that the Bureau takes a good deal of pride in the quality of its work?
Sure.
And that would be true of each section, would it not?
We try to hire the best people and try to train them as best we can and hope that they put out a good work product.
And you like to show, particularly since you become section chief, a good level of performance among those working under you, do you not?
Sure, we like to think that they're doing their job like we expect them to.
I understood you to explain on direct examination that your examiners are subjected about twice a year to blind internal testing.
Well, they're not blind. They're internal proficiency tests.
Is the
Right.
examiner aware that he's being tested?
Yes,
Oh. So he's told in advance, this is a test,
that's right.
as you would be if you were in school or college or law school.
This is a test. That's right.
Are these tests that you have designed over the past 15 years or so?
No. No, the proficiency tests are routinely prepared by the unit chief or designee. I have not been involved in preparing proficiency tests except for the past couple years.
Since you became the unit chief?
Right, that's correct.
Okay. Now, did I understand you to say that all the examiners pass all of the tests all of the time?
Well, in 1986 it started, and then going back through all the records, there hasn't been a problem since 1986, so.
Well, Mr. Diedrich, if you test a class and everybody gets 100, what does that tell you?
Sustained.
In a properly difficult test, would you not expect that there would be some misses?
Well, I think they're properly difficult enough. The tests are designed in such a way to simulate actual casework type experience. That is, question hairs are recovered at a crime scene, known hair standards are submitted. The question is, could any of these question hairs have originated from any of the known standards? And many of the tests are designed that way, and it's up to the examiner to make a decision as to whether they exhibit the same characteristics or not, based on their experience.
Do you follow reports of other kinds of tests that are taken or given to other groups of experts in your specialty?
Well, I have helped the collaborative testing services prepare tests for other crime laboratories where I provided the test samples for them and prepared the test. But as far as hairs, there aren't a whole lot of hair tests that are submitted annually around the country.
What other crime laboratories have you visited that have specialty sections such as your own for doing hair and fiber examination and comparison?
Well, I've been here. I've been to Toronto. I've been...
Would Toronto be the RCMP?
Oh, no, it's the Met Lab. It's the city crime lab.
All right.
I've been to San Diego. Some of the major cities. I don't recall all of the different labs that I've been to.
Did you go to the zoo
several
while you were
things.
there? I
Some crime
heard they have a
laboratories
good
have
zoo.
a unit that may do trace.
I hate
and
zoos,
not
by
just
the
hairs
way.
and
Hate
fibers.
them.
There
They
are
just make me
major crime
so
labs
sad.
in North Carolina, Florida, and also in New York that they may specialize in some hairs as well, hair and fiber, and not do other things.
Have you examined the standards in any of those facilities?
No, I've not gotten to that point yet where I've evaluated their testing standards.
Are you familiar with the methodologies that are used in laboratories other than your own?
I believe I am, yes.
Have you had any contact with the laboratory in the Connecticut State Police?
Yes, I have worked cases with them or for them over the years.
You know Dr. Henry Lee?
I don't know him. I know of him, yes.
What about the RCMP in Canada? Do you follow any of the work that they do?
I have worked, or at least spoken with Barry Gaudet with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Crime Laboratory, and we don't have routine contact as to what they're doing or what we're doing. We may meet, the groups may meet at either symposia or American Academy meetings.
What about Interpol?
Well, the English, again, the European group, European Fibers Group, is a good way for different laboratories to discuss their techniques, their methodologies, and the studies that they're currently involved in. With regards to hairs, well, I'm not really sure how far they go in Europe with hair examinations. And for years, the English didn't do hair examinations. And after the mid-'80s, I believe they started working with hairs more.
Have you worked at all with Scotland Yard in England?
I have not, no, personally.
That would be the English counterpart of the FBI, would it not?
Well, I suspect so, yes.
And Interpol is a collage of countries joining together
Right.
for law enforcement and detection purposes, correct?
I believe you're correct,
Have
yes.
you been in their laboratories or talked with any of their examiners as to how they go about their duties?
No, I haven't.
You are familiar, of course, with a book written by John Hicks and published by the FBI in 1977 entitled Microscopy of Hair.
I am, yes.
Has that book been updated, revised, or in any way changed?
It hasn't changed, no.
Has the technology changed in any meaningful way since this book was published, to your knowledge?
Well, I think there have been some major advances in the examination of hairs beyond simple microscopy. We have done sex typing of forcibly removed human hairs. I don't believe there's anything in there on that. We have it involved the analysis of tissue surrounding the root of forcibly removed hairs to do DNA testing. We're engaged in a research project right now and probably will implement this year the analysis of DNA sequencing of human hair shaft. So, yes, we have moved forward a little bit. We just haven't gotten around to revising that manual.
None of the techniques that you've just described were used in this case, were they?
No.
Okay. Have there not been efforts in the past to make more precise the comparison of human hairs?
There have been, yes.
Are you familiar with neutron activation analysis?
I am, yes.
When was that tried first, if you know?
Well, that could have been 60s or 70s. I'm not really sure when the technique was first applied. But it's a technique where the hair is exposed to radiation, and then by measuring the half-lives of the elements present in the hair shaft, it's possible then to determine what kind of elements are present. And it was a way that scientists thought that they could show that one person's hairs have these elements and another person's hairs have these elements, so that they're different and you can see differences. And the idea was if you associated a hair to an individual, they should have the same elements. And that was their purpose.
But the technique didn't work, did it?
No, it kind of fell flat. They haven't really pushed neutron activation analysis in years.
What about the ABO blood group determination from hair?
Well, the Japanese have had more success with ABO blood grouping of hairs than we have in the United States. Caucasians, there have been some problems with certain blood groups being very inconsistent. That is, by taking the hair, you could determine what the blood group was of the individual. But there have been some problems and the inconsistent results with, I believe, the A group, if I'm not mistaken. But the Japanese have had some success.
But this is not a technique that you use in your laboratory.
No, we don't.
It was not used in this case.
No, it wasn't.
What about the medullary index defined by Hausmann some years ago? Are you familiar with that?
Leon Augustus Hausmann, yes. Hausmann and others attempted to take measurements of hairs, such as how wide the medulla was in relationship to the thickness of the hair. And they were trying to determine if that was significant. That is, if you associated a hair, if the index was a certain number, then that was significant. Over the years, they've done a lot of things. They've tried a lot of different things to try to get away from having somebody tell you that I looked at these hairs and they look the same microscopically. They've all wanted some measurement. They want something that they can hold on to without ever having to look at a hair and say, these numbers are the same, so they must have come from the same person. But the medullary index being one of those didn't
panned out, has it?
Hadn't panned out, no. It kind of fell flat.
Did you know Dr. Paul Leland Kirk?
No, I didn't. I read crime investigations of his and some of his other publications, but I never met him.
Do you remember the studies he conducted trying to see if the count of the number of scales in a hair shaft could be of significance in identification?
He did scale count as well as refractive index testing, where he indicated that females have a certain refractive index in their hair and males have another one. And it was another way of distinguishing males and females based upon refractive index. And when I say refractive index, it's just how the hair interacts with the light. It's like fibers do the same thing. How they interact with light in a particular medium, how they bend the light or change the directionality of the light. But scale counts, medullary index, refractive index, none of those are used.
None of those have become part of the routine in examining hairs and fibers.
Well, believe it or not, all of those techniques, besides not neutron activation analysis, all of those are considered when the hairs are compared. That is, how much contrast the hair has in a mounted state, how big the scales are, how thick the medulla is. All of these things are looked at and evaluated, but we don't assign a number to them, and that's what they try to do.
Now, I think you said that sex determination from hairs was something that had arisen since the publication of this book.
Well, for us it did, yes.
Could you explain why it is described in this book?
Well, I can't even recall exactly what they said about sex typing. Perhaps if you could read it to me.
Does the name Dr. Cecil Jacobson help you?
No.
Dr. Cecil Jacobson, page 26. George Washington University Medical School.
I don't know him.
Did you, in 1977, learn to determine sex from hairs?
No.
Okay. Do you do it today, without DNA, with something on the root?
No, we don't. And there's a reason for that because of the other information that can be derived through DNA.
Are you familiar with ion microprobe mass analysis?
Well, I've read something about it. I'm not an expert in that.
That fell the same way as neutron activation analysis, did it not?
Right. Most of the instrumental techniques never really got off the ground.
How about cross-section diagnosis? Are you familiar with such a technique?
Well, cross-sections are done. Optical cross-sectioning is common for hair examinations. That is, by focusing up and down on the hair, one can get an idea about the shape of the hair. You can also see it from a stereo binocular examination. You can see the shaft configuration or the shape, but it's not common for us to take a hair off a slide and make a section of it, actual section.
Now, in your direct testimony, you indicated the use of scanning electron microscopy with respect to fibers.
That's correct.
Do you use that technique with respect to hairs?
No, we don't, not routinely.
As compared to fingerprint identification, or foot impression identification, or the identification of projectiles fired by weapons, this is a much more subjective science, is it not?
The courts have never recognized hair examinations as a positive means of identification, and we don't either.
Okay.
And with regards to bullet comparisons, or shoe print comparisons, or fracture comparisons with fingerprints, yes, all those you can make positive associations.
That's right. Is it also fair to say, Mr. Diedrich, based on your experience within the profession, that each of the failed efforts that we just finished discussing was an effort to reach higher on the scale of certainty, to improve on the old technique of comparison by microscope?
That's right.
Okay.
That's correct.
And none of those efforts have ever been accepted within the profession?
No, they really never got accepted at all.
You're still doing what you have always done, pretty much.
We're still relying on the old eyeball. That's
Yes.
right.
Now,
No, not now. Shh.
Do you find-
No, we don't find. All right, I'll let him finish this question.
that examiners in other facilities which have laboratories similar to yours, at least in some respects, have the same amount of success in periodic testing that your examiners do? Is that a common result, that everybody passes every test?
I don't.
If you notice.
All right, stupid question. We'll finish that tomorrow. All right, guys, it's Monday. Get to work. Go to work. Make some money. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bill, get to work. Go print something. Go print tiny little pieces. Make today your micro printing day. You know, minis fairy garden stuff, they sell really good. Little mini mushrooms and little mini cakes and little mini... Josh, I didn't mean to talk about Minnie in front of you like that. I'm deeply sorry. Bill, make some huge stuff today. Print the biggest stuff you can possibly print on that 3D printer. This is why no one talks to me. This is why I'm single, guys. This is why. I hope that you guys have a great day. I am going to miss you the second I stop the stream. But I will see you all tomorrow. All right? Have a great Monday, guys. Thank you so much for coming out. Bye.